Global Publishing presents Cash Flow with Ron LeGrand.
Let's talk about short sales. Short sales, a magic word. And in fact, it's making an awful lot of people an awful lot of money. But it's also totally misunderstood, totally misused, totally misdone. And frankly, a lot of people are making a big mess out of it. Like anything else, it's a process that you must understand in order to master. And if you don't understand it, you screw it up. And of course, there's so many people screwing them up, it doesn't make it any fun for those who've mastered it. Because the lenders get adverse to a constant barrage a brand spanking new 3-hour seminar graduates who can barely spell short sale, much less understand the process and the thinking that goes behind it. A short sale is nothing more than discounting the underlying loan. That's all it is. Some of us old geezers in the room, we used to just call it discounting. Somewhere along the line, somebody came up with this fancy term, short sale. I'm not quite sure where that came from, but back when I started in this business, we didn't know that word. We just called it a discount. I've been doing short sales for 25 years. But I don't know how long I've been calling it short sales. You say banks have been discounting loans as long as I've been in the business. And they're going to be discounting loans long after I'm gone. Because there's one underlying factor that ain't going to change. People are always going to go into default. And when they do, banks have only got two options. Foreclose on the house, take it back, sell it. Or take a discount now, don't foreclose on the house, don't take it back, and don't sell it. That's their two choices. Banks aren't in the real estate business. They're not in the rental business. They don't understand lease options. Too bad. Well, actually, good. They don't understand them, nor do they want to understand them, because it's not what they do. Will they all do it? Yep. There ain't a bank in existence that makes loans on real estate that hasn't discounted and won't continue to discount in the future. Anybody that says they haven't is lying. Do they want you to know they do it? Nope. Would they rather not do it? Yep. Do they hope they never get a chance to do it again? Yep. But that ain't reality. Reality is, if I'm in the business of making loans, some of them will default. I must know this to be in the loan business. And I must be prepared for it and factor it in. And knowing that, when they default, I've either got to take it back or I've got to take a discount and not take it back. Ergo, the word short sale. Are some lenders more adapt to short selling than others? Yes. Do lenders' policy of today change tomorrow? Yes. Are some of them more fun to do business with than others? Yes. Is there any one policy governing them all? No. Do you get to determine the good ones from the bad ones? No. Because about the time you got it figured out, they change. And one bank sells to another bank. And now you start all over again. The good news is, there's huge discounts out there that you can do after you buy the house with zero risk. You see, the good thing about a short sale deal is you get the deed, you make no promises. In fact, you counter-promise. That you don't know what's going to happen until you find out what the bank's going to do. And you get it in writing. It's called a CYA letter on steroids. And we're getting to it. You get the deed, you own the house. Now you go to work with the bank, and if the bank wants to play, fine, come out and play. If the bank doesn't want to play, fine, go to sale. You need another house to add to your repertoire. I got better things to do. There's no risk. Because all the time you're negotiating a short sale, you're not spending a dime on the house. You won't even mow the yard. You won't touch the house. In fact, it is detrimental for you to keep the house in good condition. Because the uglier the house is when they come to check it out, and they will, the better chance they got of taking a bigger discount. And I've even heard of people making it uglier. Not that I would advocate that. I had a student in one class not too long ago who asked me, have you ever heard of anybody bottling cat urine? No, don't ask me. So, on one side, short sales are a pain in the keister. They are time consuming, if you want them to be. They drag out forever. The banks are annoying, not the banks, the people in them. They tell you stuff that isn't true, mainly. They won't do it. It's a lie. They will. When they've played the game and when the time is right. They will. They make it hard to get a hold of them. They want you to chase them. They don't care about your time schedule. They don't care about your problems. You're not their client. You're not the borrower. They don't care if you live or die. You've got to be able to deal with all of that in order to get these hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars worth of discounts. You've got to understand. It takes time and it takes patience. And if you don't have any patience, short sales are going to make you crazy. But it's easy to have patience when you're not making payments, when you're not doing repairs, and when you have nothing to lose. Of course, it's harder to have patience when all you can think about is that big old check you're not getting. So you want to force the process. And when you force the process, you screw the process up. Because you become needy. You become desperate. And everybody around you can see you're desperate, including the people you're trying to negotiate with on the other end. And the more desperate you become, the more they want to punish you. Because that's human nature. You know, they're real estate investors. They make more money than I do. I have the power. I'm going to show them who's boss. What are short sale prospects? If you can identify what is and what isn't a prospect, it'll sure help you figure out whether you even want to go through all of that junk with the banks. I'm going to tell you what I'm finding. I'm finding out that probably 75% of the people that are putting properties into a short sale mode are unjustifiably doing that. They shouldn't be going after a short sale. The property is not set up correctly. It's not. The numbers are wrong to be going after a short sale. So I want us to make sure we can identify what's a prospect and not a prospect here today. Is that all right? Yes. Good. Because you guys are chasing your tail. Doing stupid stuff. If the payments are not in arrears, a short sale is out of the question. No lender has got the inclination to discount a loan unless the loan is in default. You're wasting your time even contacting them. They won't even talk to you if the loan is current. I don't care if you know the bank or the seller's about to file bankruptcy. I don't even care if you got the deed. If the loan is not in default, They don't have it in their system, and they can't comment on it. It's not in the loss mitigation department yet. There's nobody to talk to. There is no department down at the bank that the payment's are current, but it might be in short sale soon department. It does not have to have been filed on to be a short sale candidate, but just because it has been filed on does not automatically make it a short sale candidate either. As a rule of thumb, the payments need to be at least 3 months behind. Sometimes they'll put it into loss mitigation when it's 2 months behind. Sometimes they wait till it's 6 months behind. It's all the bank's individual policy. And look at that third one. The most important one you got to get your hands around. Most of the money you make in short sales are not going to come from discounting first mortgages. Most of the money is going to come from discounting second and third mortgages. And in reality, that's really not even a short sale. It's just a discount. Because in my experience, most of the second mortgage holders, they don't need all this short sale crap. They don't need all these forms filled out by the sellers and all of that junk. They just need, make me an offer to pay me off. And let's come to terms. And I'm out of here. And there's reasons why that you must understand to determine whether they're a quality candidate or not. If the case hasn't been turned over to loss mitigation, you're speaking to a great big vortex where the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. Now look, we're going to come back to what's a candidate and what's not a candidate. So let's go step by step through the process, and then may none of you ever do a short sale personally. If you'll get to our quick turn real estate school, there's an attorney there who'll do them for you. That's all they do all day, every day, is short sales. Loss mitigators dealing with loss mitigators. And just for the record, if your attorney ain't going to get it done for you, you don't have much of a better chance of getting it done yourself. In fact, your odds are a lot better letting somebody who does it for a living do it for you. Now, it's your choice whether you use that service or not. Until, of course, till you get to the quick turn real estate school, it's not an option anyway. But in my opinion, for you to do short sales yourself, and all the things that go in this process that we're about to describe, is really no different than you might as well be doing your own yellow letters too while you're at it. Might as well go ahead and take your own calls too, because there's no difference. If you got a chance to let a professional negotiate your short sales for you that knows the process and that can communicate with these people, and they're an attorney on top of that, attorneys deal with attorneys. It's professional courtesy. Step one is get the deed. Please do not attempt to negotiate a short sale when you don't even own the house. What are you trying to accomplish? About the time you're successful, the seller will back out. If you don't get the deed, you don't even begin the process. Forget it. You're working for free. Now remember, when you get the deed, you have a CYA letter that clearly says that if the bank don't deal with you, it's going to go to foreclosure, and you made no promises you can't keep. So don't feel obligated just because you got the deed. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But until you get the deed, as far as I'm concerned, you don't have a license to go do the short sale. And I promise you, you're not going to like the end results. Let me try to explain to you a little clearer what a short sale truly is. Very few people truly understand this. They've been at it a while. A bank is not discounting simply because the seller calls up one day and says, hey, I'm in default, will you discount? The bank is only discounting because they believe there's a buyer who's willing to buy the property if they reduce the debt. They have a buyer who will pay cash for the house, but less than what's owed. And the buyer is buying the property under the condition that if the bank agrees to the discount, then they will go through with the sale. In a short sale process, you must prove that to the bank to get them to approve the discount. Therefore, the documents must be in place to show there's a buyer. Now, who's the buyer? You are. You are your entity. Your entity is the buyer. And you're going to show a contract where your entity is willing to buy if they will accept X. Is that the truth? Is that the truth? Yes, it is. Or why are you doing this? If you're not willing to buy, if they agree to the discount, what on earth are you negotiating the discount for? So you can wholesale it. Well, that would be the only reason. It would be the only reason. You either want to buy it or you want to flip it. But you better have the exit strategy in your mind before you go trying to negotiate the discount. Or you've done all this work for nothing. Won't do you any good to get a letter from the bank stating they'll take your offer if you now can't come up with the money to pay them. By either coming up with it yourself through private loan or whatever, or flipping it to somebody else who will come up with it. Your chances of finding a buyer who will qualify for a loan at the bank and closing the deal in the short window you have between the time the bank says I'll take X and the time they want X are slim. Slim. So if you're going to go do a short sale, you better ask yourself, am I willing to pay cash for this property at the price I'm asking them to take? It's really no different from your perspective than you making the seller an all-cash offer. The only difference is the bank gets the money instead of the seller. It's still a cash offer. And we learned over there in that ugly house red thing that if we're going to make a cash offer, it's got to be below MAO, maximum allowable offer, which is ARV, after repaired value, times 70% minus repairs. If a bank accepts an offer above MAO, we can't close on it because we can't raise the cash because we're paying too much. Hello. It's that simple. So if we can't see how we're going to get the bank to take an offer below MAO, aren't we wasting our time trying to short sale it? All right. So when we think we can do it, well, now that applies on first, doesn't it? It only applies on first. That's why you're going to have such a small amount of success on a first. Because generally you're asking them to take these big old huge discounts. And they have no reason to, because they have plenty of equity above their mortgage. And they know it. That's also why seconds are such beautiful targets. Because they know they're going to get foreclosed off by the first and get wiped out anyway. So they will take these huge discounts. 10 cents on the dollar all day long. 10 cents is better than no cents. But when I go in there and I'm negotiating this big discount on this second, that does not mean that I intend to short sale this first and get them down to a number that I'm willing to pay cash for. So here's what you guys got to get. My best prospect is a house that's got a first and a second, maybe a third. And the bigger the second, the better. Because that's where my money's going to get made. My money's going to get made in discount in the second. My money's not going to get made on the first. I might get them down a little, but if I get them down a little, what does that mean I got to do? Pay them all cash. That sucks. I'd rather take over a first, discount this second down to a fraction of what it is, come up with the money to pay them, and then bring the first mortgage current and keep that beautiful loan in place. But for some reason, people have such a hard time seeing that little simple thing. Why pay off a debt you can take over for a few bucks? It doesn't make any sense because you're not going to get it discounted enough to make it make sense most of the time. So here's the process. 1, get deed. 2, call the bank and ask for a short sale package. The biggest mistake you can make on the front end is calling a bank and ask them if they short sale. All banks short sale. You get a hold of the loss mitigation package and request a short sale package. If they say we don't do that, hang up. Call back again. Talk to the feller sitting beside them and order a short sale package. They're full of crap. They do short sales. Now, if it's a second mortgage company, forget the short sale package. Just call them up and say, I got the deed. I own the house. The seller's bailed. They're thinking of bankruptcy. I can save the deal, but only if you'll take X. And guys, X is 10% of the loan amount most of the time. In this case, you will make the offer because you'll grow old before you get one out of them. And then they're going to say no. And you're not going to be shocked when they say no because Ron said they're going to say no. They're going to say no because the monopoly game hasn't started yet. They're going to say no to see if you'll go higher. When they then find out you won't go higher, they're going to stall off. They have no rush. They have no compelling reason to take it now as long as they get it taken before the sale. You've got to understand how they think. If you were in their position, you've got no reason to take it now. Why not sit around and wait, hope for a miracle? Maybe I'll get paid off. Maybe they'll offer me more. What have I got to lose now? So the closer it gets to the sale, the more power swings over into your side. The further from the sale, the less chance you got to get them to take your offer. Oh, you can make it immediately. Some of them might even take it. Most of them will say, nah, we wouldn't consider that. Lie. They won't consider it today. So every 30 days or so until it gets time to sell, you're right back in their face with that offer, probably by email, which is the way most of them want to communicate. Don't call them. They don't want to be called. They don't want to return calls. They don't communicate by telephone anymore. They do it by email so they can hide behind the screen and not have to talk to anybody. Not having to listen to your crap. You can't give them any crap on email. If you do, they just punch delete. So you are kind and gentle and polite. Because the minute you lose your cool, you lose. Oh, you want to lose your cool. You want to kill them. But you can't. Because they got the power. Besides, they'll just replace them. So you got to chill. And you got to have patience. And you got to play the game. And if you can't, there's no law says you got to do short sales, but it would be a shame if you didn't take advantage of the opportunity. In the case of a first mortgage, it's the same thing. The closer they get to their own sale, the more motivated they are to take your offer. In the case of a second mortgage, they must take your offer or they're about to get wiped out. It is rare for a second mortgage to bail out a first. Oh, it's not, I'm not telling you they don't. They do. But second mortgage companies, for some reason, they don't go down and bring the money in to make the payments current. They just pay the whole thing off. They don't have to, but they do. So they got to write a great big old check to protect the smaller check, because the second mortgage is usually a small portion of the first mortgage. They're not going to throw good money after bad money. They're just going to write it off. You know, they wrote off. They knew they were going to write off 5% of those loans or so the day they made them. Next, and to a second mortgage company working with $2, $3, $4 billion, what the heck's the difference? What's another $40,000, $50,000 mortgage to them? It's the cost of doing business, and that's very difficult for a real estate investor to see because they don't play in that arena, and that's why some people just won't buy the fact that these people will take 10 cents on the dollar. And they will. Or less. So, you call them up and you say, I got the deed. Here's what I'll pay. What do you want? Send them whatever they want. This ain't hard. On the second mortgage. On the first mortgage, you order a short sale package and you get it filled out. When you do one of those, you'll see why you probably don't want to mess with that again. You complete it. It's going to require the seller's signature, the seller's participation, the seller's financial statement, all that junk. Send it in. Then you wait. You communicate every now and then. You got everything? Yeah, we got everything. Okay, there's nothing for you to do but wait. And wait. In the meantime, forget about this deal. Go do another one. Do not make the mistake of sitting around and waiting on this check you're going to get from this short sale deal because it's the only one you're working on. If the only deal you got is a short sale in progress, you got nothing. You better go find something that produces revenue because the short sale deal is a game you're playing. You may not win it. You may not be in control of it. So go find something that produces revenue. Tell you, you go give me a pretty house that I can walk into, get the deed, walk out of, put a lease option tenant in, pick up 10, 15 grand. I'll take 10 of them any day over any one short sale. I'm in, I'm out, I'm done. I got no costly entanglements. I got no grief. I got no gorillas dancing with me. And I can do as fast as I can do them. As far as I'm concerned, short sales or a bonus that may or may not materialize. Do not build your lifestyle around them, regardless of what some of my student-turned-teachers have taught you. You follow up, and you get an answer. If you get an answer, you now got to come up with the money to pay them and get a satisfaction or an assignment of that mortgage. If you don't, all of that was for naught. If you want more information on short sales, order our course. If you insist on doing it yourself, the number's in your book, 800-567-6128. I have a course. It's an all-day seminar with all the tools in it. If you try to do a short sale without it, you're probably going to fail. One note on making offers on seconds. Here's what I suggest you do. 1, many second mortgage companies don't like dealing with individuals. They'd much rather deal with a company that appears that's in the business of buying defaulted paper. Why don't you become one of those companies? I mean, this is real hard. All you got to do is come up with a name. Sounds like you got money. Something funding or something financial group. Something. It could be an LLC or it can be a corp. It doesn't matter. Now, why don't you have your attorney write a letter to the second mortgage company telling them you are his client and you are in the business of buying defaulted mortgages. And notice they have one for sale, or they have one at 1233 Main Street. You'd be interested in purchasing it and closing quickly at a blank dollar amount. If your attorney's communicating with them, you got credibility. You ain't fresh out of a brand new real estate seminar not having a clue. The fact that you got an attorney gives you credibility, period. Because most of the investors out there are not using attorneys. They cost too much. All right. What is not a short sale candidate? See if we can get some clarity here. Any house that's not at least 3 payments behind is not a short sale candidate. A pretty house with only 1 mortgage and a small equity is not a short sale candidate. Let's make sure everybody understands why it's not. I got a $200,000 house. I've only got a $170,000 loan on it. The house is in gorgeous condition. It's 4 payments behind. The seller will give it to me. Come get it. So I go get the house, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to discount them. I'm going to short sale this house. Okay. What do you think you're going to get them to come down to? They got a beautiful house. They've already got $30,000 in equity. What are you going to get them down? 20 grand? You might. You might get them down to $150,000 on this $200,000 house. Then what? Oh, then you got to come up with 150 grand, which is 75% of the value. Does that violate Mayo? Now you got to add the cost of coming up with the money. In other words, do you really want to pay $150,000 cash for a house worth $200,000? You will until you get trained. After you get trained, whether you do it through the classroom or the School of Hard Knocks, you will learn that that's not enough spread for you to come up with cash. Because if you do, coming up with cash is costly, no matter where it comes from. Even if it comes from your own bank account, it's costly because of lost revenue you did not make on that money while you're putzing around with this house. If you come up with $150,000 cash and you pay the cost of interest for that money and you pay the cost of getting that money and you buy that house and then you sell that house for cash because that's your only exit strategy now, you might make a little money. If you're lucky and everything goes okay and you don't have to discount the price to sell it and you don't hold on to it too long and you don't pay too much in closing costs. You won't make near the money you think you're going to make if it's your first deal. You'd be lucky to net 20 grand. That's not how you get rich in real estate. You don't take all those risks and raise all that cash. You get better at buying. And in this particular case, you'd be foolish to try to short sale this gorgeous house with a $170,000 debt on it. What would be the most sensible thing to do? Keep the $170,000 worth of debt there and go make up the 4 payments. And now your exit strategies are numerous. You can put a lease option tenant in it. You can sell it with owner financing for the $2,099 it's worth. You can move in it. You can do all this cool stuff. And when do you make up the 4 payments? When you get the down payment from your tenant buyer or you get the down payment from your owner financing buyer. So you got the house for free. You got no money in it. You got no risk. You collect the money from the end user to make the payments current. And you do all that simultaneously. That's how you make money in real estate. Not by going out and doing stupid stuff like raising 150 grand to buy a $200,000 house. Because you didn't understand what's a short sale prospect and what isn't. That one isn't. Any house that you don't feel like you're going to get discounted enough to pay all cash and get below Mayo, as we just discussed. Any house you don't want to raise cash to buy or wholesale. There are some houses where you can get them down cheap enough, but you just don't want to buy them. Good candidates. Well, you don't want to buy them because you just don't see them selling. Maybe they're not good selling properties. Maybe there's something that you just don't like. Maybe they're functionally obsolete. Maybe the layout is just horrific. Maybe it's 20 miles out in the country. You just don't want to go raise the cash because you just don't like the sellability of it. Good candidates are houses with 2 or more loans on them that are in default. The bigger the second, the better. Those are your prime targets because the money's in the second. Ugly houses, whether they have 1 loan, 2 loans, 3 loans. Why ugly houses? You see, there's a big difference in my $200,000 ARV with a $170,000 debt that's in excellent condition than the same house that needs $25,000 worth of work. If it needs $25,000 worth of work, what does that look like to the untrained eye? 50 grand easy, doesn't it? What's that going to look like to the person who comes out and does a broker's price opinion? Yeah, 40, 50,000. So now, I got me a house here that's got an ARV of 200, okay, and it's got a loan of 170, okay, but it is one nasty, ugly mess. Now, I got a different animal, because now I can go in there and I can say, geez, I might owe 170 on it, but I ain't giving them a dime more than 100. Now when they send somebody out to take a look, and they gag when they open the door, and they go back and they tell the bank, take whatever it is they offered, you got a totally different deal. Because the bank now has a motivation to discount. They don't have the motivation on the beautiful house with equity above them. And when you run across houses like I just described, any number is fair game. And whether you're going to win or not depends totally on the bank's appetite to take back that ugly product. But you've got nothing to lose by trying. So my $200,000 house and 25 in repairs, what's the ARV? The Mayo, 115. So if I go in there and offer 100, am I okay? There you go. Big difference. So yeah, I'll take the ugly ones. But what's my exit strategy if I get my 100 accepted? Wholesale. Could I wholesale? For how much? 115. Probably 100 and a quarter in a heartbeat. Probably 100 and a quarter. I bet I can make $25,000 on the house, never lay a finger on it. And let somebody else go raise the 100 to pay the bank. And by the way, you will make more money on that house if you do that than you will buying it and renovating it and then selling it. But you won't believe that. This is your first deal. You will believe it on your second one. High-priced houses are great targets for short sales because lenders hate high-priced houses. Just the fact that they're high-priced means they got more money involved, less they can lend, bigger risk they think on selling them. So they're going to take huge discounts on these $1 million, $2 million, $3 million houses. Give me a $3 million house with $2.2 million owed on it. House is in excellent condition. Seller don't care. Seller walks. 5 months behind. I'm still going to go in there. Now, I don't know if I'm going to short sale that one or not because I probably want to save that debt. But hey, what the heck? Why not try? Suppose I can get that bank down to $1.5 million. Would I come up with cash on for $1.5 on a house worth $3 million that's in excellent condition if I knew it was worth $3 million? Yeah, I would. I would. I just discounted $700,000. And you say, but that's a lot. Not to them. Not to them. Besides, they know if they take that house back, they may or may not, they may keep that thing for a year, 2 or 3 before they sell it, the way they go about it. Could I always go back and try to discount it at 1.5 and they tell me to shove it where the sun don't shine? Yes? Yep. Can I go in and make up the payments even after I fail with a short sale? So we try plan 1 first, which is going for the discount. And in fact, if it doesn't embarrass you, it's not low enough. Because you never know when the timing is right for that bank to take that cash and get out of that deal. Guys, you just don't know what goes on behind those walls at those board meetings. They have their reasons for doing things. You know, I'm chartering a bank. I'm an organizer in a bank right now. And, you know, I'm learning what banks can and cannot do. And they are so highly regulated. You know, if they turn sideways, they got to report it. So, which makes them such a prime target to sell, because they're so highly regulated. All right. So have we learned that not every candidate is a short sale candidate? Are we better at determining when it's sometimes better just to make up payments? Yes? Okay. All right. And you probably just don't even care anymore. On the next couple of pages is your CYA letter for properties that are in default. And I want you to take time to read that when you get a chance, because there's some cool stuff in here that couldn't be any plainer. A 6th grade redneck could read this and understand that it says, "We making you no promises. We'll do our best. We are not making your payments up. We are not refinancing your house. We are not stopping you from going into foreclosure unless the bank will work with us. Sign here." If you don't get this thing signed, if I were you, I wouldn't buy the house. And you give this to your attorney and let your attorney prepare their own, because they're going to change it. It is kind of simplistic language. They're probably going to whack it up and do their own. So what? Let them earn their keep. But you get this signed. And if you're going to go in and do a tabletop closing, and you may, in emergency situations, you make sure if it's in default, you come out with this thing signed. And I'm going to let you go do tabletop closings, but only in an emergency. All right, next page. And last page of this section. But probably one of the most critical pages in your entire system. It's entitled, "How Do I Know What to Offer When?" Is that a question that runs around in your mind from time to time? Is that a question all new beginners in real estate have to struggle with? And in fact, not having the answer to that question already cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yes. You'll get over it. Go make it up on the next one. All right. Situations are, in this case, the payments are current. It's in good condition with a small equity, or there's a small gap between the loan balance and the asking price. When you see that, you know it's always get the deed for no money or get the deed for little bitty amount of money. That one's easy. Easy. That's your only offer. Now is when it gets a little hairier. And this is what stops many folks. Payments are current with a large equity, and it's in good condition. But that problem is, what do I do about that large equity part? The answer is you can get the deed with little or no money and give the seller back a second with no payments and no interest. That's option one. Or you can get the deed and give the seller more money now and owe them nothing later and discount their equity drastically now on the front end. And by the way, who gets to make that choice? Well, the seller, if you give it to them, if they have a lot of equity. I'll pay you more if you'll wait. I'll pay you less if you want it now. Isn't that fair? Money's always worth more today than it is later. Or I'll give them a owner financing device, wraparound mortgage, land contract, or AITD, with a small down payment, and let them finance the whole thing now. I'm still going to get some equity in this deal, or I'm done. Or I just simply option it because it's got such a large spread. That's it. Payments are current, house in good condition, them's my four choices. Assuming it's got a debt on it of any size. Now we go to the free and clear babies. When it's free and clear, my first offer is almost always, will you owner finance it, or will you take your equity in monthly installments? By the way, does that sound a whole lot better than, hey, will you owner finance it? Well, what the heck does that mean? Well, I don't know, but sounds sexy. Will you take your equity in monthly installments clarifies what it means. If I can get them to take their equity in monthly installments with a small down payment and some kick-butt terms like no or low interest and low payment, I'm happy with that deal. Because I know I got an easy exit with seller financing or lease purchase. I got a good monthly cash flow. I'm going to make money on the front end, and I'm probably going to discount the heck out of it later. Hard to beat that deal. Or they don't want this long-term stuff. All right. Well, then I'll give you shorter-term financing, but I want it with no payments and no interest. Okay, I'll pay you off within 2 years. By the way, it's hard not to get a nice cash flow on a property that has no payments. If somebody gives you 2-year no payment financing, wouldn't the smartest thing for you to be doing would be to lease option it out or seller financing and collect the payment for a while before you go cashing out? Yeah? Are you kidding me? That's like free money. So, if I've got a 2-year balloon, does that mean that I can't sell it with owner financing? I'm going to give you a second on that one. Because that would, I got it 2 years for, I got to pay the seller. Oh, no, I can't sell it with owner finance. What am I going to do? Well, you're going to stop and you're going to think for a minute. So what, I owe the seller a balloon in 2 years? Could I always put a 2-year balloon on my buyer? That's one way to fix it. Or could I sell it with owner financing, knowing that I can sell off the mortgage whenever I want during that 2-year period? Yeah, I could do that too. So if I set it up on the front end with owner financing so that I know I can sell it and what I can get for it when I sell the note, why not collect payments for 2 years before I sell the note? Why give away all that money like an idiot? Seems like common sense to me. Common sense ain't so common though, is it? Or, if it's free and clear, could I ask the seller to refinance it themselves and then take over their debt subject to, or do a wraparound on it if they don't want me to have their credit in my hands? And if I were going to have them refinance it, what kind of loan would I steer them to? Oh, one of them 1.5% deals, huh? How about that? In other words, if I'm responsible for making their payment, do I want their payment lower or higher? Let me think. I pick lower. And the lowest payment you're going to get is one of them 1.5% loans that you get a card for every other day in the mail. You take your buyer to them and you say, this is the only way I'm going to do it. I want you to refinance with this so I can get that payment down. And if you get that payment down and you put a lease option tenant in it or you sell it with owner financing and you create this big monthly spread, are you in any hurry to cash out? Nope. By the way, if you put a balloon in your owner financing that you're offering to your buyer, does that mean you have to call it due? No, it just means you can. You can call it due. They'll probably refinance you and take you out anyway without even asking you. You get a call one day. Says, we're going to pay you off. Can you get me a payoff letter? Oh, crap. I got to take another one of them big checks and figure out what to do with it. You'll get used to it. Or, even if it's free and clear, could I always option it as long as they'll give me a big discount? Hello? Yep. When I option it, ladies and gentlemen, does it make any difference whether it's got a loan underneath it or not? When I sell it, it's going to be for cash. I don't care where that cash goes. Pay off the seller's debt or pay the seller. Same to me. Or I could always offer them an all-cash price, couldn't I? As long as it's below what? Mayo. And in that case, the condition is irrelevant because it will be adjusted automatically in my formula to arrive at Mayo. So it can be pretty or ugly. And then I have a note in here that says that C will not apply to house if house needs renovation, and C is buy with owner financing using a wraparound with as little down as monthly as possible. Or the C I'm referring to here is asking the seller to refinance it. If the house needs renovated, will the seller have problems refinancing it? Yes, especially on those 1.5% loans. Okay, now we're getting down to the bottom. I got me a house that's in good condition, but the payments are in arrears. This one's easy. Get the deed for no money, or get the deed for little money, or get the deed for no money, little money, give seller some of their equity on second mortgage due later. No payments, no interest. When I'm going into a house with payments in arrears, we ain't going to have this conversation about interest. We ain't going to have this conversation about, hey, how long can I take to pay you? Here's what I'm going to do. I pay you when I get paid. Period. When they're behind on their payments, they've lost most of their negotiating power. They're going to take whatever you're willing to offer them if it's anywhere close to reasonable. And in that case, your reasonable solution is you're going to stop the foreclosure. And you will if a short sale is not imminent. And if you can see the exit beyond the short sale. And many of the deals you walk into and get for free are close to it. If you can see those exits, and you know that a short sale may happen, but if it doesn't, I'm okay because I know exactly what I'm going to do with this deal. I'm going to make a killing on it whether they discount or not. Then, and only then, you can make the promise that I will bring your payments current, but I want to play the game first. I want to see if the bank will discount first and run that gauntlet. Then if they say no, I'll bring the payments current. If that is your intentions. Because you can see that that's a smart thing to do. But if it's a short sale candidate only, and there's no way to save it if the bank doesn't discount, then obviously you're not going to make any offer that you pay them later anyway. So now what is your only way you're going to buy the house? Give me the deed. Or give me the deed and here's moving money. Easy. Simple to buy. No mental stress. At least not on your part. That's why some of your best deals are going to come from mailing letters to people that are in foreclosure or about to be. If you clearly understand you got to mail more letters to get a few calls. The few calls are the better calls. All right, payments in arrears, it's in poor condition. You'll almost always get the deed for what's owed on it. Every once in a while you give them a little bit of money. But if you're going to get the deed and it's in poor condition and the loan's in default, what's your most likely exit strategy on that one? Short sale it. That's one you probably will short sale. To discount down and go raise the money to buy at a deeply discounted wholesale price. In any of those cases above, we get free equity with the deal or we don't buy it. And in a few of them, we get free equity on the front end, and we are creating free equity after we take title and getting a double bonus. If you will take that chart, make your own chart from it, put it in front of you the next time you get stuck. You scan the chart for your situation, and then you apply the appropriate offer based on what you see. If you can't get it done by looking at that chart, the best thing you can do with it is forget about it, let it move on until you get better trained, and then you might find another solution. For example, in the case of these ones in arrears, you might want to go in and buy the mortgage and be the lender and foreclose on the property yourself. That's another whole income stream. We discussed that in Paper Power. Or you might want to release the liens from the property. We have a section in this course on that. Or whatever else the situation dictates. Chart will serve you well. Use it well, and that's it. So we'll come back to pre-screening after you take time to digest constructing and presenting offers.